You are Locked On Rockets Postcast, part of Locked On Sports Houston on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Little Monday matinee basketball for the Rockets at Toyota Center, where you were hoping and expecting to an extent that they were going to come out and play their brand of basketball all day long. And it was the exact opposite, as the Detroit Pistons played the style of basketball that the Rockets typically play, as they push the Rockets around all day long as they get the easy-ish victory over your Houston Rockets today at that Toyota Center, as the Rockets are in a very tough stretch ahead. We're going to get through a lot of it today. We're going to get through what I thought was ugly, the ups and the downs of it, some of the good as well. And again, that tough road ahead for this Rockets team after losing this one today. Hello and welcome to the Locked On Rockets Postcast. I am your host, Michael Connor. Appreciate all of you joining us live on the channel or watching us later on via the Locked On Sports Houston page. If you're listening on the Locked On Rockets audio page and you're wondering, well, who's this voice? You hadn't figured it out just yet. I am your host, Michael Connor. Like I said, this show is available anywhere that you get your podcast. It is a different show than the Locked On Rockets podcast, which is a daily show. This show is post-game shows after the Rockets will hopefully win. But today, they did not do that. First of all, hope all of you are staying warm out there, and hopefully all of you will be fine and have power over the next 24 hours because we live in the state of Texas, and we'll see what happens out there. Today's show is brought to you by Prizepicks. Now's the perfect time to join. Download the app today and use code LOCKEDONNBA. To get $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. That's right. No need to win to get the bonus. It's guaranteed. Prizepicks, run your game. All right. I mentioned it in our little brief entry there to what we're going to talk about and what we saw out of the game today. Ugly. It was an ugly basketball game. The Rockets came out, and, I kind of went back and forth for myself on this, and you kind of think about things you want to talk about, of course, when you go into a show. And I was like, I want to talk about how, they're playing a Monday game in the middle of the day. These NBA players, they're not accustomed to it. That's all fine and dandy, to do that. And I can't acknowledge that it's not outside, or it is outside of their normal routine to play a game at 1 o'clock on a Monday when these guys are. Look, I used to work for the radio station that has the Rockets on the air, so I know all the fine folks that do the Rockets broadcast. And when they're on the road, or when they're all night owls because they're up late working. They go to bed and then they get up late. So I get that. They're not morning people. You got to start your day early today. But again, on the other side of things, Detroit has to go out there and do the same thing. And they're the team that's not even at home for it. Excuse me. I just didn't like anything that I saw from the start of the game today. It kind of felt like, and this is a credit, I'm not saying that the Rockets didn't do that. Here's what it felt like more than anything to me. Detroit did all of their homework on how the Rockets play. Detroit did a lot of advanced stuff on them. And they came out and they punched the Rockets in the mouth. They out-hustled them all day long. They created turnovers early. Now, Detroit turned the ball over like crazy. But they also didn't allow the Rockets to have a ton of points off of turnovers. 18 in the game? Excuse me. For 23 turnovers for Detroit? That's a lot. But I think the biggest, the most indicative thing that you look at from today, what have the Rockets been great at this season? Hitting the glass, playing that tough nose defense. Now, it's not like they played horrific. They played some horrific defense in the first quarter. And in part, they played some horrific defense in the first quarter because they kept turning the ball over left and right. And Detroit is a team that likes to get out and run. And Detroit put up 40 points in the first on them. And then it was complete opposite in the second, of course. But they came out sloppy. They came out sloppy and got punched in the mouth. And then they were never able to recover in this one today. It happened. Sometimes you're going to have these games where you don't have it. They didn't shoot the ball all that well. And this one, what they end up shooting as a team. And this one, I just had my box score up, but I've closed it because I'm very smart. They shoot 39% from the field, 28 from three, and 68% from the line for a whopping at 96 points. It's not like them. They're not one of the better offensive teams in the league. We all know that. They're not a team that is getting out there and putting up 120 consistently. And that's okay. But they are usually semi-efficient when it comes to how they operate offensively. There was none of that today. None of it. And I just thought from the jump, Detroit looked like the team that had more energy, more desire for it, a lot going on there. And that's why they walked out of the Toyota Center today with a win, a well-deserved win. The Rockets did not have any moments of this game where they, of course, deserved to win. They really didn't. They had a good climb back, but at the end of the day, they kept making the same mistakes as the game moved on, and that is what cost them a chance to get that victory today over those Detroit Pistons. We got a lot more to get into. Let's talk about some of those odd mistakes. Let's talk about some of the odd playing out of certain individuals today, and we will do that as we continue the Locked On Rockets postcast. Right now, though, I want to tell you about Prizepicks. Basketball season is heating up, and there's no better way to get real money action while watching your favorite NBA stars with Prizepicks. Whether you're a diehard fan or just love some friendly competition, Prizepicks makes it fun and easy to turn your basketball knowledge into cash. Here's how it works. Pick more or less on at least two players for a shot to win up to 1,000 times your cash. You think LeBron's going to drop 30? Maybe Luka's getting more than 8 assists. Prizepicks lets you make your predictions and put your money where your mouth is in just 60 seconds. I've told you guys for a long time, I am a massive fan of the daily game when it comes to playing basketball. And I love Prizepicks for what it gives me the ability to go out and play and make a little bit of money off of. Who doesn't want to make some money off of it? Let's go. It's a lot of fun. Right now is the perfect time to join. Download the app today and use code LOCKEDONNBA to get $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. That's right. No need to win to get the $5 bonus or the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Prizepicks. Run your game. Locked On Rockets postcast on a Monday afternoon. Odd timing, obviously, for us to do this show. I am your host, Michael Connor. If you are live with us here today, appreciate you guys. If you're watching it later on, appreciate you. If you're watching it or listening to it wherever you get your podcast, well, thank you for that because it is free. If you are looking for it, again, in its podcast form, anywhere that you get them for free, search Locked On Rockets. You get this show and the Locked On Rockets daily podcast. That is hosted by Jackson Gatlin. Again, these are two separate shows, two different channels, and they're both free to you, which is always fantastic. Jackson does a great job covering your Rockets. Make sure to go check out his work and then come back here for the instant post-game reaction. I did not like what we saw out of the Rockets today. And again, it's an 82-game season. You're allowed to have games that I and you don't like. Right? It's sports. It's basketball. There will be mistakes. There will be days where you come out and you just do not have it. And they did not have it, I thought, at any moment. I shouldn't say not at any moment. The second quarter, again, a little bit of a rude awakening there in the first. And the Rockets did score points in that first quarter. They scored 29. It's not like that was a bad quarter offensively. Second quarter come out and outscore them 28-17. And then typically what happens for this team, And I think that's kind of where I lead off on the mistakes that were made that they don't typically make that kind of bothered me. Typically what happens is the Rockets go into halftime and Ime Udoka, if they're not playing their best, choose some backside, as he would tell you, uses a lot of curse words. And the Rockets usually come out in the third quarter and play a much better brand of basketball. And today, that was not the case. Today, the Rockets came out of that second half, and it was Detroit that made the adjustments. It was Detroit that came out and punched the Rockets in the mouth there to an extent. And it was Detroit that ended up outscoring them in that third quarter by 10 points and making that fourth incredibly difficult to come back in. And then you go ahead and pile on top of it. The fourth quarter was an abomination of basketball on both sides. 17-16. Detroit outscores in the fourth quarter. I mean, that is no good. It was not a fun quarter to watch. A lot of challenges, a lot of turnovers on challenges as well. Really, really unfun basketball day in general. But I thought that was a massive issue in the game. Playing that way, again, the energy coming out and the attention to detail coming out was, I mean, I don't want to say embarrassing, but it was borderline that, because it's just so atypical of what they do and what they look like. And then to me, the biggest and most indicative thing in this game now, and look, an element of this, you see it with the second unit. I think the Pistons' second unit outscored the Rockets by a ton. Let me pull it up, see if I can get. Well, they don't put that on here, do they? I know during the game it was a pretty big spread in bench points between the Rockets and the Pistons. And I think a lot of that today, you kind of saw it. The Rockets getting bullied inside. Again, I mentioned the rebound battle, 52-39, and it was the offensive glass as well. The Rockets, did end up getting a lot of them. They're the best offensive rebounding team in the league, 15 of them. They allowed Detroit to grab 13 of their own offensive rebounds. There was no Steven Adams today off the bench. And Steven Adams has been really good lately. And even when, he's not playing a ton of minutes, playing 12 to 15 minutes a game, but he's coming out and he's getting 8, 9, 10 rebounds. Like, he's making a massive difference for this basketball team every time that he's out there, because he is a monster. I mean, the guy's averaging, I think it's 12 minutes a game, and he's averaging like almost 5 offensive rebounds a game. It's stupid. And today, Jock Landale, I did think had some good minutes early. But he's not Steven Adams. He's not a presence defensively at all. And he's not the rebounder that Steven Adams is at all. And, Alpy today had a really, just honestly, an atrocious day. He went for 11 and 8. They needed so much more out of him. They just had nobody step up on the glass. And maybe one of the most embarrassing ones. I mean, you're on the floor for 30 minutes. Dylan Brooks, how do you not grab a single rebound at all? I know, I mean, there's the element of it is luck to have it bounce your way at the right time. I get that. But not one. I really did think the presence alone of Steven Adams and being in that second unit where Detroit crushed you in the second unit mattered in this basketball game today. He's not the difference into why they won or lost, but I think he would have made a difference in the amount of points maybe Detroit gets in this game from the standpoint of extra possessions that Detroit created, all those things to why they got the win today over the Rockets and really played, again, a bully type of basketball. It really felt like they were the bullies today. And the Rockets, most nights, because they don't normally play during the day again, but most nights, the Rockets feel like the team that is doing the bullying. And then when you add on that they're taking bad shots, and really at the end of the game, too, I get it at some point. You wave the flag, you move on, you're going to lose. There's like 3 minutes left in the game. It's still within striking distance. Things can happen quickly. I mean, the Rockets erased, was it a 14-point deficit at one point? Like they rattled off like 16 points in a row in that second quarter in like a 4-minute span to take the lead after getting beat up there in the first quarter. It can happen at any time. Like it's 3 minutes left in the fourth quarter, and they're running these offensive sets where they're, standing around, not doing anything, waiting, letting the shot clock run down, letting time just eat off the clock. So what are you doing? Urgency. That gets back to the issues when you have a game like this. I mean, look, Jalen Green has been awesome this month. He was named Western Conference Player of the Week for last week during this game today. But I mean, he was atrocious today. 8 of 21 from the field for 19 points. And you couldn't put the ball in his hands. Fred VanVleet, no offense to Fred VanVleet. When Fred VanVleet leads this team in scoring, it's probably not a good night. Fred needs to be like third in scoring. Third or fourth. And the Rockets are probably winning those basketball games. Nobody stood out today. Amen Thompson had his moments. He played a pretty solid game. But outside of that, nobody's stepping up. And the Rockets walk away with the loss. They are now 28-14 on the season, and they drop to 14-7 at the Toyota Center so far this season in the updated Western Conference standings. There is a lot of action in the NBA today. The Rockets are still securely right now in the moment at the 2 seed. The win-loss column, a game ahead of the Memphis Grizzlies, but of course they hold that important tiebreaker over Memphis if it came down to that. Let's go ahead and take a look at, you got to turn this thing around quickly. How do they turn it around quickly? I'm going to go ahead and give you a hint of what I'm about to tell you. They have to play the complete opposite of what they just did because the Rockets are entering a stretch now that is massively important and very difficult. We'll talk about it next here on the Locked On Rockets Postcast. FanDuel. Who doesn't love FanDuel? From the first whistle to the final drive, FanDuel makes the NFL playoffs even more exciting. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win your first bet. That's $300 to keep the action going. The FanDuel app is easy to navigate, and the variety of bets keeps every game exciting. Plus, when you win, you get paid instantly. No waiting around for your winnings. Whether you're betting on your favorite team or just looking to add some extra excitement to the playoffs, FanDuel has you covered. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today and get started with $300 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com. Make this playoff season unforgettable with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Locked On Rockets Postcast, rolling on for a few more minutes here on a Monday. I'm your host, Michael Connor. I'm not going to lie to you guys. I'm doing this show with a soccer game on in front of me because my team, Chelsea's playing. We're up 3-1 against Wolves. So maybe I'm going to get one win today. The Rockets did not give me the other win that I wanted, and that what you wanted. Bad day. Bad day. This show, by the way, will be live again in a couple of nights, we hope. As of now, the game on Wednesday for the Rockets is on. It is a home game against the Cleveland Cavaliers. It's supposed to snow a lot tomorrow, freeze, all those things. Again, I hope all you guys are warm, safe, hanging out, got yourself some food. I made a ton of soup here in our house, and we're just going to eat soup and hang out on the couch. But again, hope you guys are ready for all that. Tomorrow night, or not tomorrow night, they're supposed to play Wednesday night. We'll see what happens. They're entering the stretch now. They've got one more game here at home, and they're going to head on the road for 4. But they're playing Cleveland back-to-back. If you've not watched Cleveland this year, they're a monster. They are. They're 35-6 right now. 35-6. I mean, Cleveland has real, legit title aspirations. It's not fake. Go watch them play. They're a monster. And they're going to be incredibly tough. And it's not just you get to see them once. The Rockets get them back-to-back nights. It's Houston on Wednesday. And then they turn right back around and play them Saturday in Cleveland. Excuse me, just 1 second. I'm going to hit the mute button because I got to go. Man, dry spot hits. But yeah, 2 games in a row against this Cleveland team. And the road trip doesn't get any easier. You go to the number 2 seed in the East, the defending champion Boston Celtics after that. And then you go down to Atlanta. And Atlanta's not been a pushover at all this year. They're the 6th seed currently in the East. And then you go to Memphis. Now, the Rockets have handled Memphis this season. But, I mean, that's a 3 seed in the West. And they come back home real quick for a game against Brooklyn. And Brooklyn's not good. And that's going to be one of those games that you stare at and you go, man, you got to have that one. And they go back on the road for another 4-game road trip to New York to play the Knicks, and then play Brooklyn again, then at Minnesota, who they've got to get some revenge on, and then at Dallas. Between now and February 8th, this is a tough portion of games for the Houston Rockets. And this is a team, and I've said it, I am bought in that this is a team that is a contender to win the Western Conference. Are they likely to win it? In my opinion, I would say no. I think that Oklahoma City is going to be tough for anybody to beat this year in the West. But they're the number 2 seed for a reason. And they're playing like that consistently. And if you want to be viewed as that, continue to move forward, then, of course, hold your spot where you're at, because where you are at is where you want to be. To do this, you will have to get through this period of games that are incredibly difficult, not get kicked around, and not have a losing record during it. I'm really excited to see what they're going to look like against the best team in the NBA the next couple matchups. You know that they're going to be up for it. I don't have a doubt about that. I think they'll have more energy than they did today. Because, again, today's energy was no bueno. Have more energy. Bring it. Find a way to get a win. A statement win. It would be a statement win in that one to an extent. Heck, if you pulled off 2 in a row, that'd really be a statement. Cleveland's only lost 6 games this year. And they've played, 41? They've lost 6 times. It's crazy. So we'll see what happens. Hopefully we'll be doing a postcast for it on Wednesday when that game gets wrapped up. Again, the weather. Find out. Hope you guys stay safe. Stay warm. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button to this channel if you're new to it. Appreciate you stopping by, whether you were watching it live or watching it later on. Again, talk to you guys Wednesday after Rockets and Cavs on the Locked On Rockets